It seemed like there was no hope for Boruto. The anime had succumbed to an abyss of filler because of the manga's monthly structure, and the story lacked any kind of identity. Naruto had always been defined by conflict, but Boruto's life had to be boring to vindicate the 20 plus years of Naruto's journey towards world peace. But one character single-handedly transformed the series. We've seen some of the best animated fights in the entire franchise, with undoubtedly amongst the most tragic moments soon to come. Naruto's got a new son, one characterized by the same level of internal conflict and setbacks that made his generation compelling. But in some sense, Kawaki has gone one step further. He's produced one of the most realistic, mature character arcs in the story, with many compelling twists still to come. Kawaki's struggles represent the most grounded take on mental health in the series thus far. Naruto has always been a story characterized by trauma, whether it's Sasuke losing his entire clan, Naruto's loneliness, or Obito witnessing Kakashi murder Rin. These are intense stories, but as with a lot of anime tragedies, they were too melodramatic to be relatable in any direct sense. Consequently, how the characters responded to these issues was always a little far-fetched. We all remember the memes about Obito. Kishimoto was trying to write a story of loss, but it wasn't one we could really connect with, as it wasn't a realistic human situation or a realistic human reaction. In contrast, what Kawaki goes through and how he develops as a result of it is entirely believable. Child abuse, the conventional kind inflicted by an alcoholic father, is something that shapes as many as 1 in 7 people in the US. Human trafficking, which was Kawaki's ultimate fate, affects an estimated 40 million people. Kawaki's trauma may not be as fictionally creative as Sasuke or Obito's, but when we see him going through slave labour, beaten with a broken bottle, or sold to a weird pervert so his father can claim a profit, it hits harder because these themes are grounded in reality. In China, where Muslims and their children are forcefully abducted in concentration camps and used for medical experiments, what Jigen does to Kawaki, forcing him to live in a giant test tube, isn't fictional hyperbole at all. Equally, who Kawaki becomes as a result of these experiences is all too real. He doesn't become an edgelord bloodlusted with revenge, or a broken heart trying to destroy reality. He becomes something far more tragic. At least in these examples, the person was animated towards a goal. But again, this isn't how real human beings tend to respond to trauma. In Kawaki's case, he doesn't become a fictional villain, he becomes nothing. Someone who doesn't trust anyone, someone who has nothing to live for, someone who doesn't care about anything. He becomes a depressed and unstable outcast in the most genuine sense. This is the most human reaction to adversity we've seen in the Naruto series. And of course, there's no shortage of antisocial and problem children in the real world, who may grow up to be criminals or waste away, a fate that seemed to be waiting for Kawaki, of course, if not for Naruto. It's becoming popular amongst celebrities and political figures to talk about the importance of looking after refugees, but when challenged, the people that preach this will rarely take them in themselves. The real world is characterized by hypocrisy. People want to help others, just not with their own money or shelter. And it's not always unjustifiable. In the same way Kawaki represented a genuine security risk to Naruto's village, letting a stranger live in our home might not be the wisest decision. In this sense, Naruto's willingness to embrace Kawaki represents an idealistic triumph over our human insecurities. It shows how a key barrier to progress is not just politics, but our own individual willingness to take responsibility for the problems in the world. What made Naruto and Kawaki's relationship so compelling was how organic it felt. It didn't feel like an idealistic cliche of the hero changing someone's heart. We've seen Naruto deal with trauma, both his own and other people's, for over 20 years. So Naruto's willingness to engage with Kawaki and ability to connect with him feels entirely earned. When Naruto says his village has failed if it cannot be a home for someone like Kawaki, Kawaki becomes a medium through which Naruto furthers his own character development. The way he incrementally connects with Kawaki, slowly rehabilitating him one step at a time as he shows signs of paranoia, PTSD and nihilism, is a wholesome commentary on how to deal with mentally challenged people and particularly children. Therefore, Kawaki's renewal and the bond he shares with Naruto represent amongst the most thematically rich and well-executed plot points in the series. Of course, we know this fairy tale doesn't last. After all, the Boruto show opened with a flash forward seemingly showing Kawaki as some kind of antagonist who murdered Naruto. This is equally why Kawaki is so engaging from a plot perspective. He completely subverted our expectations. The closer we saw him and Naruto grow, the more mysterious his ultimate fate became. At this point, with him literally quoting, "He'd rather die than live in a world without Naruto," it seems certain he betrays Naruto for some sort of greater good intended to protect him. As viewers, it may be difficult not to empathise with those intentions, knowing how sincere they are, and this is why Kawaki has the potential to become amongst Naruto's greatest antagonists.